interferon product. Now, this was very fortunate because within a few weeks of that, they had a very virulent outbreak of dengue fever. It was a form of dengue that had never been seen in the Americas before. The Cubans suspected the CIA, the State Department denied it, but a recent investigation using bioinformatics, has, in the Cubans' claim, shown that the CIA was involved in the introduction of this dengue fever. Now, the Cubans used the interferon in the first ever mass public health campaign therapy event to combat the dengue fever, and they were successful in that. And they produced this product, interferon alpha-2b, in 1986. It has different solutions and stabilizers to the products produced in other countries. Therefore, it is a distinctly Cuban product.
Do you think Britain, Boris Johnson, let alone Donald Trump in the United States, should be asking to work with Cuba on this? I should say the British government did thank the Cuban government for, alone in the Caribbean, accepting a ship where COVID-19 cases were. But Britain has so far not condemned, obviously, the blockade during this pandemic.
No, I mean, the British government, like most governments in the world, in fact, all governments in the world, usually except two, which is the United States and Israel, does actually vote against the US blockade of Cuba in the General Assembly, in the annual vote where Cuba condemns the blockade. But the question is, should they be asking for access to this interferon, which the Chinese National Health Commission adopted, this antiviral drug, to combat COVID-19 and has found it to be very effective. It's now, according to documents I've seen, at the top of their list for treatment. This treatment has been solicited now from Cuba by at least 15 countries, we're hearing. But, you know, I've been contacted by people in the United States, in hospitals, in New York. They are also pretty desperate to get hold of this. And, you know, they face the fact that they have the US blockade, which will deny them access. Yes, if there is evidence that interferon alpha-2b is, you know, assisting patients and stopping them slowing down the death rate or reducing the death rate, then the British government should absolutely be talking to Cuba about how they can access this product.
The point is, Cuba is characterized as being a dictatorship, to have no democracy whatsoever, and yet your book appears to be saying it's a country where there is constant debate, constant critiques, constant changes of government policy through consultations and referenda.
Well, look, there are different understandings of both human rights and democracy. So the United Nations recognizes two sets of human rights, and one set is economic, social and cultural rights. The other set is civil liberties and political rights. Now, with a centrally planned socialist economic system where human welfare is prioritized, social, economic and cultural rights have to be prioritized. In the United States, it's about the civil liberties and political rights, which essentially means freedom to set up your own business, exploit other people, freedom of speech, but only if you have access, you know, all the freedoms that actually are mediated by your access to purchase them. So in Cuba, the most fundamental right is the right to life. And to have the right to life, you need to have access free, universally, to all of those things that we need to live: food, healthcare, education. But they have a concept of living which is much higher. On the other question of democracy, you know, if you take the preferred political expression of most of the advanced capitalist countries, which is the multi-party system, usually pro-capitalist parties, and if you take that as meaning democracy, you look for that in Cuba, you'll find it's missing, and therefore you can conclude that Cuba is not democratic. But they have a different system of representation.